Good afternoon, morning,
Morning.
afternoon. My name is Cindy Knowles. I do a lot of health and agriculture workshops. I have a master's in herbal science. So I educate people on how to use plants for health. And what we are going to talk about today is exotic edible weeds. So the weeds is all the stuff that you see that grow like along the side of the roads, and like it's all the stuff that we normally don't want. You know, that causes issues in our gardens. It's it's so to say a double-edged sword because it has, we only think of it as bad, but it has a lot of good. And so today I want to talk about the good about weeds, because weeds can actually save us in situations that we never realized it could. So it can also help with food security, and that is the main purpose of today's talk. Is how the weeds can be a blessing in our lives, especially when times are tough and food is scarce. There's a lot of food at your disposal when we need to learn to look around us and identify and use what is around us, because there's a lot of nutritional and medicinal value to these weeds actually. So normally we just know, okay, it's our vegetables and herbs and so on that we get from the garden that can help us and so on. But the weeds are also a superfood that we don't realize we actually have at our disposal, so to say. It also helps with sustainability. So it not only is good for the soil, and it helps with the animals that come and destroy the crops and so on of your veggies, because some of them keep them at bay, but it also is very healthy for us as well. And some of them actually attract the good animals like ladybirds and so on that actually fight these bad animals. It's actually good for the good vegetables. So the reason and the purpose for the garden here is for the diabetic and the nutritional clinic, so that you can learn to take your health into your own hands by being proactive. And because diabetes can be reversed, because it is a lifestyle disease. So if you are eating right according to the portions and things the way the sister said, you're already on a good track. If you are growing your own food, your own vegetables, and the soil that you are feeding is enriching the vegetables with the proper nutrients, you're on a better track. And so when you stick to foods that is healthy and it actually helps lifestyle diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure and so on, you can literally reverse your diabetes. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on the weeds. The vegetables is for another day, but the weeds, nobody really realizes the value that weeds actually have. And sometimes the onkruid, we always pull it out because it's an eyesore. Always get it out. It's an eyesore, and it basically it's destroying our garden, we think. But we need to try to get into a mindset of permaculture. Thank you. A mindset of permaculture, which basically is growing not only your vegetables, but your weeds and your other things together, because they all are beneficial. We just need to understand how they are beneficial. So I know, like, the reason why Irene wanted to do these types of workshops is because, especially in poorer communities, firstly, you don't have food. So how can you take your medication? Secondly, you're taking your medication but you're not getting better. And it all circles back to food. What food are you eating? What can you use at your disposal? And so because we are poor, we feel we don't have money for food. But we have a treasure chest around us. In the vegetables, yes, but also in the weeds for those very bad times. And so I just want to go through what weeds we can eat, what are the values in the weeds, and how it can benefit us. and how we can eat it. So the first way to identify edible weeds, and so weeds are categorized into plants, grass and grains. So I'm just going to briefly cover those. Firstly, you look at the leaf shape. The leaf shape, you need to learn to identify what weeds are good, what are edible. So you look at the leaf shapes, that will normally give you an idea of what is edible and what isn't, and the texture and so on. For example, dandelion has like a jagged edged leaf, okay? And this will help you identify that this is actually a good plant to eat. And then you get chickweed, which is it's like an oval type of, sorry, it's here somewhere. So this is chickweed. It's a small little leaf with a white little flower, and it has like an oval leaf type of thing. And that's also one way you can identify what leaves are edible, what weeds are edible. Then the flowers also, they normally have very bright flowers, like dandelion has a bright flower. Nasturtiums also have bright flowers. They tell you that, I just said it now. Chickweed has a small little white flower, very pretty. So these flowers also help you to identify, okay, that's edible. You need to check the growth patterns also of these weeds and stuff. You normally find them along sidewalks, along the roads, wherever there was disturbed ground, that's normally, and normally in your garden, they will just grow. And then you do a smell and a taste test. So if the smell is mild and pleasant, then it's edible. If it has a strong chemical smell, then you don't mess with it at all. So now, how do you do the edibility test? First, you have to take the plant and you pull all the different parts apart. So you take the seeds off, you take the leaves off, you take the stems and the roots. You set them apart, and each part you are going to test. Okay? So you smell the leaves. Like I said, if it has a strong odor of chemical, then you know it's not, and you must avoid that. Then you do the rub test. So you take a leaf and you rub it on your skin like that, and you leave it for 15 minutes. If there's any irritation like itching or swelling or whatever, then you know, okay, no, I can't eat that. Then you leave it. You can do a lip test. So you rub it on your lips as well. Leave it for 15 minutes. If there is irritation, itching, swelling, you leave it. Then you do a mouth test. You put the leaf or the piece in your mouth and you just keep it there for 10 to 15 minutes. If it starts making you itch or any type of thing, then you leave it. But if not, swallow it. And then you just wait a few hours just to see, because your life is more important. Even though you are hungry, your life is more important. So you don't want to eat something that is going to be detrimental to you. So these tests are important if you are not sure whether that plant is edible or not. But it's good to identify which plants you can eat and which plants you can't before that. So education is very important. And then you do the swallow test. You will swallow the piece that you had in your mouth, for example. You wait a few hours, up to 8 hours. If everything's fine, then you know, okay, I can eat it. But if it's going to cause like indigestion or rashes or something, then you know, okay. But always just take a small piece. Okay, so now the edible weeds that we have to plant, that we have, this is called amaranth. Now amaranth is a plant and it's a grain. It's actually an ancient grain. You see these little things, they normally turn red. These are the seeds. So the whole plant is edible. The leaves are extremely nutritious. It's got lots of vitamins and minerals. And you can use this in stir fry, you can cook it, boil it, it's normally called wild spinach. So you can use these leaves as well. This is a small plant, normally the leaves can grow really big and the plant can grow very high. So, and then these little things, this is amazing. So these are called ancient grains, and you can actually make flour from this. You can actually pop it like popcorn. So, and you can saute it and fry it like caprese and so on. Now, when you are going to use it as flour, say you destitute, you have no food. There's a lot of this around. You dry it out. There's quick ways of drying it, either in the microwave or in the oven. Otherwise, you can do the natural thing, let it stand in the sun and dry out. But once it's dried, you then grind it down to a powder, and there you go. You have flour that is nutritious, lots of minerals and nutrients in here. And then you can make bread, you can make cookies, you can make anything. You can use it to thicken soups. So the whole plant is edible, and you can use it for various things. See, these are the grains. I don't know if you can see. Okay. So the health benefits are that they have essential amino acids. They have lysine, and lysine is also very good for blisters and stuff like that. They are very high in fiber, so they help with gut health also. And gut health is very important because most of your hormones are actually produced in the gut. It is also where your immune system basically is built and strengthened. So gut health is very important. It's gluten free for those who are allergic or whatever. So it's a good alternative for those that are vegetarian and vegan. And it supports cardiovascular health. So it does help your blood. It stabilizes your blood levels. And so amaranth basically is a very sustainable food, not only for your garden because it also contributes to soil health and so forth, but for yourself, for your family. Try these exotic herbs, they are very helpful. The next one I want to speak about is wild radish, and I see in Mitchell's Plain it's everywhere along the streets, which is this. So you'll see there's these little pods here, and then the flowers and the leaves and the root. Do I have a root here? No, I couldn't get a root. But the root is long, almost like the dandelion root, and the root is the same as a normal radish. So that's why this is called wild radish. So the root you can use as you do radish, pickled or whatever, and the leaves you can also fry, saute, cook, whatever you want to. And the flowers is also edible, so you can use it as garnish, as cocktails, as teas, for salads, all those things you can do that. And the seeds, birds normally feed on the seeds, but you can also eat it if you want to. The health benefits are that it's anti-inflammatory, so whatever inflammation you have in the body, it helps with that. Skin irritation, especially if you've got allergic reactions or you've got pimples or any types of skin problems, the leaves also help with that. You can even make the salve, which is rabbit on them. It supports your gut health as well. Very rich in vitamin C, which is very good in winter. Iron and potassium it has, and then it helps regulate your whole metabolism. So it also is good for weight management. So the vitamin C is also very good in winter. It will boost your immune system as well, and it will support your liver. So the next one we have is chickweed, which is the small one that I showed earlier. They grow in little clusters everywhere. So they have like a small little white flower on it. The flower died because I picked this yesterday. But they have small little oval leaves, and they used to be used for scurvy. Now, it also helps with any skin problems. So if you have itchy bites or anything like that, you can also make a salve from this or rub it on. But preferably first try and get the juice from it and then make a salve or something. Mix it. The quickest way to make a salve is basically if you take coconut oil or olive oil and then you can either mash this up and use the juice and mix it in there and then use it as a salve. But then other ways of salve is of how you make actual salve is more in depth. So you can use the stems, the leaves in salads, and you can also cook it, but it's very small, so it would be pointless. The flowers you can use as garnish. You can use as garnish, and then it has anti-inflammatory anti-inflammatory properties. Can you all see me? Yes. Sorry for that. Okay. So it has anti-inflammatory properties. It also supports your digestive system, and it's also rich in vitamin C, iron, and potassium. And it's very good for the skin. Now the next one, I'm sure everybody knows this one, is dandelion. So dandelion has these flowers on it. They look very pretty when they are open. The whole plant is edible. The flowers you can also use as garnish and so forth. You can make jellies, syrups, teas from this. There's also something like dandelion honey that you can actually make when you add sugar or honey and you let it stand, and that will make dandelion honey. Then the leaves are very nutritious and healthy, but this plant has a lot of health benefits. The main ones are it helps the liver, it gives lots of liver support, it's rich in vitamin C, vitamin K, vitamin A. It helps with your gut health, it has strong anti-inflammatory properties, and it regulates your blood sugar levels. So this is very good for diabetics. Even if you just make a tea from the leaves, or you incorporate it into your food, very healthy. Now, the root you can actually use as a coffee replacement. So all you do is you dry it out. So you know chicory or decaf coffee, that is how you can use this as well. So you dry the root out in the sun or in the oven or whatever, and then you grind it into a powder and you use it as coffee. It's a very good health replacement for coffee. Coffee is not the greatest thing. It does have negative effects on us, especially dehydration. So this is a really good alternative to coffee. And also, you can use every part of it. You can use it in a lot of different types of foods. Sauteing is really the nicest way that you can use it. You can make soups and all kinds of things from the dandelion. You can also just dry the leaves out and make it into a powder and just use that in smoothies or with your food or anything like that. The next thing is purslane. Now this also, I'm sure almost everybody knows. Here we go. I just had a small one. So these leaves grow really big, and they are also the family of succulents. So they look very similar to sour figs. The consistency of the leaf, the texture and so forth. It's very fat, and that is speckworm, which is also the same in the same family. So purslane, also the whole plant is edible. You can actually make chutneys, you can pickle it, cook it any way you want to, smoochies, all of that stuff you can make. There are seeds on here, on the bigger ones, and the seeds can also be used as flour if you dry it out. There's also nutritious value in that, but it just will need a lot of seeds because the seeds are small. So it's got omega-3 in it, which is very important for your health. Vitamin A and C It has magnesium and potassium, which is very good for heart health because magnesium and potassium help with the constriction and relaxation of the heart muscle. It supports your digestive system and it is an antioxidant, which means that it fights free radicals, which cause stuff like cancer and those types of things. So that is also very good to consume regularly. Then we have oxalis, and I'm sure everybody knows what oxalis is. That is just the name for it. The other name is called wood sorrel, but the name we know is sirangs. Right? So sirangs, when we were children, we used to eat this. It used to have a sour taste, and we used to say it's because the dogs used to pee on it. But actually, it is oxalic acid in the plant that gives that sour taste, and that is where the nutrient value comes from. So it is very nutritious for you. The whole plant is edible. Some of the species have tubers, which are edible, but not all of sirang roots are edible. But the plant, the stems, the leaves, and the flowers, there's pink flowers, there are white flowers, there are yellow flowers. So it depends on which color grows by you, but it is also nice to make cocktails with because it is garnish, it is really nice to drink as teas and so forth. Now sirangs used to be used on ships for scurvy, which as we know today is shingles, or a form of shingles. And because of its great nutritional value, and medicinal value, it really helps with a lot of skin problems as well. It's very rich in vitamin C, and that is what helps with the scurvy and whatever skin problems we might have. It's also antioxidant, which means that it fights things like that cause cancer and so on, environmental pollution and all of that stuff. But you need to eat it in moderation because too much of it is toxic. So just be careful how much of this you eat because it can be harmful in large quantities. Okay, so what do you do when edible plants are bitter? Because not all of them are nice and juicy. Some of them have a bitter taste. For example, if you use acorns, acorns are edible. Acorns can make flour. So when you have bitter herbs or bitter plants, these things are, you can blanch it. So blanching is when you cook it for a short time and then you put it in cold water. That draws out the bitterness in it. You can soak it overnight. That will draw out the bitterness. Like for acorns, the tannins in there is what causes the bitterness, and the soaking it overnight will give it enough time to draw out those tannins and bitterness, and then it makes it edible. You can cook it. You can pair it with ingredients like vinegar, lemon juice. That will counteract the bitterness. You can put salt in it. It will draw out the bitterness as well. And then you can just dry it and grind it and use it as seasoning, because through that drying and grinding process, it changes the chemical structure, and then it's not as bitter but actually enhances the flavor of your food. So these herbs are really amazing. I mean, these weeds are really amazing and can really make your dishes exotic if you use it in different ways, as I mentioned. So how do you harvest edible grains? Now, edible grains are these types of things, and the amaranth and so on, all the little seeds and all of those things that dry out that you can make into flour and porridge, those are edible grains. And this we see a lot, especially in summer. So they grow on wide open spaces to protect the soil basically. And you get wild oats, you get wild rye, you get all different types of things, and these are actually ancient grains. Most of them are ancient grains because they used to be eaten as wheat is eaten today. So how you identify it is you have to check, like if we look at the amaranth, you have to check if the seeds are ripe. So the seeds will normally change color, and the mature seeds will then harden. And once the seeds are hardened, then you can break it off, preferably at the stalk, because then you'll dry out, and the stalks you will then gather, dry them out in a well ventilated area. Once they're dry, you can then do the winnowing and storage process, threshing. So threshing is basically when you shake it. You see the whole process of how they make flour from wheat. Is they first, after they've dried out these long stalks, they shake it. That is to separate the chaff and the grains. And then they do the winnowing, which is basically throwing it in the air so that the wind can then separate whatever other stuff is attached to the grains, so that they can then isolate the grains, because the grains is what you need. The other stuff is not good. Well, it's not edible. The grains are edible. So once you've done that, you can then store your grains in a dry, airtight, in an airtight container in a dry area, or dark area preferably. And when you want to use it, you then make your flour. You can grind it once it's dried, and then you make your flour and use it for whatever you want to, and thicken soups, make stews. It gives body to stews and so forth, so that's how you can then use it. Now, wild oats. This is wild oats. It's called avena. So you will see them hanging like this, and then they'll have like these types of pods will hang off the string. Okay? So in those pods, once you do the winnowing, inside you get the grain, and that's where all the nutrition is. So with wild oats, you can actually use it as normal oats, and you can use it as flour. Sorry, it's very rich in fiber, which is good for your gut health. It contains nutrients such as proteins, minerals, and basically everything that you would get in your wheat. It has, and your jungle oats, it has all the same nutrients and so forth. And it is a very good sustainable food because it can help you in times of need. It can help you replace wheat, which isn't really a good staple. And then it can also help your soil health. So it's very valuable to use to forage, and foraging basically is when you go out into the garden or forest or something and you collect things to eat. That's what foraging is. Then you get wild rye, which is this. And this also grows, especially in summer. You see a lot of these, especially on open field, but also in your garden, along the streets and so forth. And this can be used exactly the same as normal rye. You can use it to make breads, you can use it to make flour. So basically you do the winnowing and threshing process again to get the seeds at the inside, and that is what you use as flour. Because it has natural yeast on it, it can be used for brewing. And that's what they use to make beer and all of those types of things. So it can be used as a yeast type of action. It's very rich in fiber, and it has lots of vitamins and minerals as well. And then the last one that I want to speak about is crabgrass. Okay, let me just talk about crabgrass before I show you, and then I'm going to show you some other plants as well. Crabgrass basically grows in these little tufts of grass, and then these stalks come out with, they have like 4 things that look like a cross basically, and on that cross is little seeds. And those seeds can also be used as grain. You can pop it like popcorn, or you can dry it out and then grind it down and use it as flour. It's rich in carbohydrates, which is also brain food. Carbohydrates are very important for your mind. And it's a sustainable crop. It's also been used in African exotic cuisine. The rest of Africa, you can use it for flatbreads, because that's through the ages they used to use it specifically for flatbreads. And yeah, you can use it as a normal flour. So let me just go find one quickly. So this is the tuft of grass that it normally grows in, and then you'll see it come out like this. And on these things are the grains. They are very small, but they are very nutritious to eat. This is speckworm. I'm sure you all know speckworm. Speckworm has a lot of properties. One leaf, if you are dehydrated and you eat one leaf, it can rehydrate you immediately. So if you are extremely thirsty, you are having, like the sister said, one of those your sugars too low or something, and was it too high? Or you just want to drink? Too high? Sorry, too high. You take one of these and then it can help quench your thirst. This is wild lettuce. This also grows in your gardens and so forth. Wild lettuce is called nature's opium. It's not opium, but it acts like it. So the leaves, this is a small one, the leaves are good for pain. And I had neuralgia. And everything I was trying wasn't working. And then I tried some wild lettuce leaves, and it took my neuralgia pain away instantly. And I slept so well. It just knocked me out. So it can be used for sleeping. It can be used generally for pain. If you break it, you'll see this little white sap that comes out. That white sap is antiseptic. So if something bit you or something, you just rub it on there and it will clean the wound until you can get it, seen to. But that white sap is also what contains the opium. It's not opium, they just call it nature's opium because it mimics what opium does, but it's not opium. So that is actually what takes the pain away. This is nasturtium, and this you find in a lot of gardens also. They grow crazy. You can also eat the leaves, and they get these fat round seeds. Those seeds you can also fry and do things like capers and so on. The leaves you can use in pies, you can use it for decoration, you can use it in various ways. It's very good. This is the flower with different colors. This is malva. You also find it growing in gardens, in wild areas and so forth. Malva also has a lot of medicinal properties. It helps with earaches, with various things. The marshmallows that we eat today, actually the origin was from the malva plant. So children couldn't take antibiotics and medication in the 1800s for sore throats and so on, and then they used the root of the malva tree or plant, and that, because it makes a gelatine type substance, and that is how marshmallows were made, because it's got antibiotic properties in there, and then it helped with throat infections and so forth. And when the children ate the marshmallow, so marshmallows was originally a medicine. And then this is that's dandelion. Now the one that looks similar to dandelion is called sow thistle. And we need to make sure that we don't confuse dandelion with sow thistle. And I can't find my sow thistle here. I didn't bring them. But sow thistle also has a yellow flower. The leaves look very similar, but it doesn't have long stalks like this. The stalk grows and the leaves grow on the stalk, whereas dandelion, the leaves only grow at the bottom, basically, where the soil is. Sow thistle is also good for liver health, but don't confuse it. It doesn't have as much properties, health benefits as dandelion. And this is plantain. You also find this everywhere. And these things here, so the leaves are very medicinal, especially for any bites, stings, cuts, sores. This helps a lot. You can make a salve from it, or you can actually just chew it and put it on, depending on where you are and what is at your disposal. It also helps with respiratory problems if you don't have other stuff. And then on here, this is also grains. You can see these are grains. And these grains can also be dried out and made into flour. So there's a lot of food around us that we don't realize. This is a pod from a honey locust tree, and these trees grow almost everywhere also. You'll find these things hanging off the trees and you don't know what it is. But inside are seeds, and the inside of this can actually be used as a sugar replacement for diabetics. It is the family of the carob, and carob is like chocolate, but it's a healthier version of chocolate. It is the food of, it is part of the same family. Now, the seeds in here, you can make into coffee. So, just like with the dandelion root, you can make these seeds into a coffee alternative by drying it out and grounding it. But the inside of this hard pod, you soak that, you scrape it from this hard outside, and that mush is like dates when you soak it. You can either make a syrup and use that as a sugar replacement, or you can dry it out and the granules and crush it and use that as a sugar replacement. So there are lots of replacements as diabetics that you can use in nature that is growing around you, and that you can use as food that will actually support your health problems and also give you nutritional value. And that's it for today. Any questions?